Welcome to Strip Cover Lit, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I am Adrian Ford, and we're here for part 29, the 29th chapter in a 34-ish part series as we take on Fairy Tale by Stephen King. Now, we have a So What Happened, we have a Lit Crit, and we have a Writer's Notes portion of this video. Let's get right into it with the So What Happened portion, a recap of this chapter. Leah magically levitates the group up, and away, as one will do, levitates them up to, well, I mean, you know, the place. The place, she used the magic. Who knows? Who cares at this point? It doesn't matter. There's no real rhyme or reason to anything. We're making this up as we go, and that's fine. But we're supposed to edit it so it doesn't feel like that later. It was never edited. Nothing was ever put in or taken out. Nothing was ever smoothed over. It's okay. It's okay. They go across, they make their way across a catwalk. Of what? Who knows? Built where? Doesn't matter. All the way along to a spire. They get to the spire. There's a door on the spire. Is it locked? Kind of, not really. Maybe from the outside. It's a little bit hard to tell with the exact language that's used, but it's unlocked. And once the group is inside, they go, are you ready for this? Dum dum dum. Downstairs. They go downstairs, down a very winding path. Okay, that's cool. Charlie convinces Leah that they have a side quest that they must accomplish, because Leah's not the only one with goals. She's not the only one who's there. Charlie convinces her that they have to go and find their way to Kellen's room. So they do, and they want to kill him. So they break in. Boom, 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 through the door. Iota does. Boom, 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 right through the door. Only to meet his bodyguard on the other side in Kellen's waiting room, living room, dining room, kitchen. Who knows? Doesn't matter. There's a bodyguard there, and he cuts Iota. Iota then goes ahead and pins him down, and Leah sticks a knife through his eye. Great. Cool. They then find their way. So I told you the part where he stabbed Iota, right? With his knife. The bodyguard had a knife. Just a knife. That's all you need to guard someone when there is a group of people who's intent on killing this person. He had a knife. Fine. Cuts Iota. Cool. They kill him, and then they're on their way into Kellen's room. Only Charlie realizes Iota doesn't look so good. He did just get stabbed in the shin. Who cares, right? He's a big guy. He's been through a lot of stuff, but one knife slash across the shin. Who cares? Kellen's still asleep somehow. I guess he's a vampire. Who knows? He's not sleeping. He's just turned off. It doesn't really matter. And once they are in there, Snab, the giant cricket grasshopper thing, starts making a noise. And rats flood in. A whole lot of rats flood in to the room, and they swarm Kellen. They nibble Kellen to death. He's nibbled to death. He's nibbleable. And as they do, Iota collapses. Kellen dies, and Iota, it turns out, says that the knife with which he was sliced was poisoned. Of course it was, right? Iota dies. That's our chapter. That's what happened. I only have a couple notes to talk about here. This could be a very short video. One of the things that doesn't hold a whole lot of weight here, but it should, is Iota's death. Why doesn't it hold a whole lot of weight here? Well, Iota is from the third story in this book. We have, at the beginning, Charlie's story with his family. Charlie's mother died. Charlie's father's an alcoholic. Charlie ended up having to raise himself. It could have been a very interesting story, but we don't really go into depth on anything. Then we get the second story, which is Charlie and Bowditch. Now, Bowditch, a little bit of a tough cookie at first, ends up liking Charlie. Charlie falls in love with Radar the dog. Bowditch dies, Charlie inherits a whole lot of gold. Could have been a very interesting story. We'll never know because we never go into it. Never happens. It's just kind of out there. This is where you were. And then we get the deep Maylene story, right? We get this Impus section of this book where we have all of these different characters come in and we meet them for a little bit. And we had Hamie. Hamie was our guy for a little bit. Hamie died. Okay, cool. He's the only character that we met that really meant anything, and then we lost in the tournament, even though Charlie decided to let the tournament go a full round. Half of his friends dead before deciding, you know what, maybe we should try to escape. The reason the Iota death doesn't hold any weight is because he's from the third portion of this story, and we have only a partial connection to him. Look, it's possible to meet a character, have that character die shortly, and still have some repercussions to your reader. Here's the thing. There is a quote that you'll hear me talk about all the time. And a lot of times I do it in a writer's fashion. I do it in the writer's quotes. I do it in the writer's notes portion of these videos. And reportedly, it's from Marilyn Monroe. Who knows, right? But she said, if you can make a girl laugh, you can make her do anything. All of us have that button. All of us have that button on us. I contend that readers have that button on them for any emotion. If you can make a reader sad, you can make them feel anything. If you can make a reader laugh, you can make them feel anything. If you can make a reader scared, you can make them feel anything. There is a wide berth for emotional investment in literature. And I think that all you have to do is turn one emotion on for your reader. And the suspension of disbelief is gone. The investment in your story is there. They've felt something. Sounds unscientific, sounds mollywash, sounds all of these things. I don't care. It's real. I promise. I don't know where we had a full emotion in this text. I don't think we had a full emotion anywhere in this text. I never laughed once. Nothing was ever scary. There was never a character in whom I was particularly interested, except for Kellen, right? So the ironic part here, I felt more about Kellen's death than I did Iota's. I wanted less to lose Kellen than I did Iota. Iota was kind of cannon fodder as far as I was concerned. He was the big dumb guy in action movies, always dies. The big dumb guy in fantasy stories is always there to be disposed of. Because why? Normally, and here's another point of contention, shortfall with this text, I would contend. Normally, the big guy dies in a battle through which our hero proves his mettle. And that tells us that our hero is tougher than just bronze. That tells us that our hero is more than just muscle. Iota's death here is more or less throwaway. Name one time where Iota surprised you. Name one time where Iota made you laugh. Name one time where Iota was sort of a scene stealer. Name one time where Iota was more than you expected of him in any fashion. Because he was not, losing him doesn't do anything for us. Kellen, on the other hand, was sort of a surprising villain. Kellen was able to... Kellen put Charlie in situations where Charlie had to grow and learn. And he's the only villain so far that has done that. So that's it for the Lit Crit portion of this video. Now I've got one writer's note as well, and it's the same thing. It's on the same thing. Why not give... So, in the bedroom, they find Kellen. Iota has said he wants to kill Kellen. Great. That would have been surprising, because we come here expecting it to be Charlie, number one, or we come here expecting it to be Leah, number two, who does the killing of the big bads. Iota says, hey, let me do it. Great. Except we get there, and it's not him, and he does not protest, and then he just dies. Now, it was Snab. Snab had all the rats come in, etc. So here's the big question from a writer's perspective here. Why not give Iota that kill? You gave us, Stephen King, the writer, gave us an interesting scene. Snab calls in all of the rats pounce on, the rats nibble Kellen to death. It's a scene, it's an interesting scene, it's something to look at. If Iota had killed Kellen, one, it would have been surprising from Iota. Two, it would have been meaningful because Iota had history with Kellen. Iota was one of the characters that Kellen tortured, right? So in three, there would have been catharsis. Giving that kill to Iota would have allowed Iota a full circle. But we don't get that. Instead, we give it to Snab and the rats. Personally. So this, okay, I'll talk about it from this route. We have gone into time and again on this series the difference between literary fiction and genre fiction. This trending towards more genre fiction. We have talked about a lot of the differences between literary and genre fiction. When literary fiction is carved out as something. Literary fiction would choose, more often than not, the route of the meaningful scene versus the interesting scene. That's why a lot of people lose interest in literary fiction. There's nothing to look at. There's nothing fun going on. If you read, for example, Hemingway, every once in a while there will be a killing. The Short Happy Life of Francis Macomber. There's a killing scene, isn't there? But what's going on? There's more interesting stuff going on. Or there's more meaningful stuff going on than there is interesting stuff. The interesting stuff just sort of like eye candy for the reader's mind. There's a little bit of that in The Lion's Hunt. But more than that, it is the person, Francis Macomber, overcoming himself. Yeah, overcoming himself. Don't replay that. But in that story, very little time is spent on the actual deaths. And if you have not read that story, there's more than one. The interesting parts there are how the people in the story deal with the deaths. The meaningful thing in the story. I have to think of a better nomenclature for this because interesting is maybe not the right thing, but there's no real eye candy in the interesting portions, but there is meaningful candy in the eye candy portions. I still got to go back and come up with nomenclature for this, but all I really mean to say is that The meaning was done away with in this scene for there to be more interesting visual things going on. The rats popping on Kellen as he blue lights them or whatever, versus the meditation through which Iota could have gone moments before his death while killing Kellen. We don't get that. We just get the eye candy. That is all I have for this video. If you want to help me out with what I'm doing here on the channel, hitting the like button always does the trick. If you're here by chance but not designed, consider hitting the subscribe button in order to stay around for more. And I hope to have you back for the next video.